You have exactly 3 seconds to like and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I'll appear in your dreams tonight. To ask for a donation for that cup of coffee, link below.
What you just witnessed is the full text of the committee's appeal, promulgated by the Party Central Committee. March 4, 2019. 1979 responded to the group's summons. Thousands of young people have set out. Join the army with the desire to lead yourself into a new all-out war. Accept the situation the country has just gone through. 30 years of war have devastated our potential. The war was almost over. Wonder what they did to win the war. Win all will be revealed within. Today's video about border warfare. China World in 1979. Music. Before going into the main content you can realistically imagine about the difficulties of the Vietnamese army when entering the border war. North, we need to go back to the years 1970, when our country was approaching independence, reunification. Especially for Vietnamese people at that time, China and the Soviet Union are known as socialist countries, provide the majority of weapons and ammunition, and food for the resistance war. America, but the rulers in the North, keen people don't think so. They're getting more and more disagreed with the Soviet Union and sought rapprochement. Relations with the United States in the eyes of politicians. This veteran guest of resistance, Vietnam at that time, was just a bargaining chip with Ho. Next time, the Shanghai Joint Communique year, 1972, North's intention to discuss Vietnam. The scriptures are clear. It is clear that China will help the U.S. withdraw from the war. The war in Vietnam still persists. Saigon regime in return America will agree to. China entered the United Nations and had one seat on the Security Council there. Become a country of great importance in the world. However, Vietnam has made China. The country cannot carry out our intentions. Negotiated with the U.S. to complete the work. Liberation of the South in 1975 caused FI. The exchange for track failed completely. But even when Vietnam was not yet there, promptly restore economic and construction activities to build a country. China has found it. A card. Other family members for BP regiment in Cambodia right now in this army should forcefully cross the border and kill people. Vietnam in the western border area. Men are the heads of state of Vietnam. Nam then tried to find Ho Bin through measures of resistance at the border. Southwest and negotiate with Beijing, but the Chinese side does not show compassion. Insist that we give in on the issue. Border, and had to turn away from the Union. These are all problems that go against the grain. Vietnamese benefit. In 1978, a few groups of Chinese troops, Quoc V, crossed the northern and Vietnamese borders, south to attack border guards. Women and local people are still at the border. The southwestern border was continuously flooded by PP troops. Went to the border and massacred people. The Vietnamese people decided to organize a protest. Attacking force. Force attack has the participation of the Good War Legions, worshipping the Mai Nu drum during the resistance war. The 3rd Army Corps was ordered to be cancelled by General Kim Tuan. The 4th Army Corps was led by General Hong Cam. General Nguyen Huan's 2nd Group. Most modern gases including strains. The type once used by the U.S. as a fighter jet. Fa-5 Diamond A-37 transport aircraft. C-14 attack is also included. Thanks to that, the Vietnamese army is very good. Quickly liberated Cambodia. But still have to let the good units fight. Don't be here to protect the regime. Newly built and resist demolition. The terror of enemy remnants is still ongoing. Very well supported by China. Take advantage of that opportunity on January 12, 2019. 1979, the Chinese Central Army issued an order. Attacked Vietnam. The reason was China. Given is similar to any force. What other expansion ever existed in them? That history is to consider Vietnam as a threat. Military is serious and deserves to be punished. Punish them for calling it the war against Vietnam. Counterattack in self-defense. Even when the army, we have never actively attacked. Chinese leader. National October. Gunfire. rang out in the border area. North in the Chinese Sky Series. Fighter aircraft take off from several fields, flying at the forefront of the southern part of this country. Reconnaissance on the East Sea with the Nam Hai team. Also mobilized a mixed fleet of warships including destroyers, frigates, missile ships. High-speed torpedo boat and gunboat arrived, causing damage to the airspace in the region. Vietnamese Sea. South Underground Artillery Units. 2 Corps 1314 and 1 Division belong. China's 50th Army has mobilized armored vehicles and 450 gun. Artillery entered the battle position, fighting in the operations room at the command post. Guangxi Frontline Military Region Commander Guangzhou Hua the Hu gave the order to open fire. It was then that Quoc attacked the Vietnamese and Chinese troops. The country operates in infantry formations, coordinate with armored artillery. Troops simultaneously from Guangxi and Yunnan. When approaching the territory of Taobang Province, China deploys maritime tactics. The person who coordinated the siege by Tang Thiet Ji, the enemy Vietnamese army organized an operation, active across the border with the main directions are Lang Son and Sao Bang, in which Lao Cai is an important direction. Quan and Lai Chau play the roles. Coordination game in addition to China also carry out a diversionary attack. Quang Ninh and Ha Toyin in Sao Bang though. Vietnamese defense forces at this time. Most are just militia border guards. Self-defense and Chin soldiers but still enough to cause difficulties. Towels for the troops. The two sides plan to fight from the 17th on. Thanks to the overtaking force, China has been able to control it. Most of the high-ranking soldiers. The rest of us continue to fight. Harass enemy forces in the Lao direction. The Chinese army was divided into 2 wings. Attack the defensive position of the force. Vietnamese Chinese troops build a pontoon bridge across the Red River and Nam Thi River to park tanks. Set of money vase to attack Town Hall L. Immediately the Vietnamese defense units. The men on the front line simultaneously exploded. Do not. The two sides fought each other for fame. Each corner house, town in Bat Sat and Wong districts. Vietnamese forces were established. Defensive points to prevent war. The military's famous human sea technique. China then withdrew from the Chinese army in the direction of Yunnan. Advanced in 2 attack lines. Attacked Cam Dong town and captured it. A mine there from the 21st to the 25th. The Vietnamese main force was defeated, including the 345th Division to strengthen defenses there. MC Aptis Orange, Division 16, Owen Regiments 254 and 192 and 8 battalions. The local army broke the noses. The enemy's attack at Kok Nu Street. Sandong, recruited at the Lang Son front from the 27th. January 0, 19. Chinese troops have just attacked the city in 3 directions while searching for local forces. The Vietnamese side fought guerrilla warfare, threatening Hanoi. The enemy followed. 4 shots until 40. Mason Shoulder Sun and Cao Cao Sun to facilitate. How long does good war units have? Surrounded Lang Son from the southeast and southwest. Here the Vietnamese side has made further preparations. Welcome Chinese troops with defense points. Defending from above and the 3 Star and Gold Division. Also, this is an elite division. Most of Vietnam was present at the war. Side border field. The North thanks to the concentration of many combatants. The soldier has experience in confronting Korean-American soldiers. Quoc and the former Republic of Vietnam. Group 3 was initially successful. Defeated many Chinese attacks. National however until March. The enemy sent more artillery to neutralize them. Just let other units attack directly. Present and add 2 more divisions to attack flanking the monks' positions. Group 3 forced this unit to withdraw. Back another highlight on the front. Lang Son is at Dongdang Quan Fortress. China under the support of the Royal Force. Tank artillery was continuously pouring in. With each wave of light, people aimed at the 3 surrounding areas. The Vietnamese forces fought back. The Vietnamese team continuously fired bullets from. However, the high defensive posts are due. Was cut off from all supply lines and ammunition, and the food of wars. The fighting inside the fortress gradually ran out of troops. China blocked all routes to the north using loudspeakers to call. Our troops surrendered when they saw that no one would. Then they threw tear gas into the tunnel. Understand that it cannot be conquered. The will of our army and people is entrenched in the fortress until the night of February 21. The enemy used explosives to knock down the 1st and 2nd floors. The 2 fortresses resulted after 5 days and nights. The artillery fighting was defeated by the Chinese army. The country occupied as well as at Dongdang and many other locations throughout Lang province. The Chinese mountain army has taken advantage of its advantages. His large army initially set out. Chinese soldiers suffered heavy losses in front of the fortified defense points of Vietnam, but then infantry soldiers of They have switched to penetrating attacks, divide every part of our defense, and let armored artillery fire continuously. Architectural work. Oh, the situation had changed. So it's very bad for Vietnamese forces. Lang Son when the Chinese army was in control. Control the majority of defensive positions. In addition, the enemy also has a nose. Secondary attack V Quang Ninh in direction Po. Cowardly lamenting in Mong Kai. Along with that is Dong Van Hon Mo of Bin Liu, and Quang Duc belongs to Hai Ha district here. The first mountain forces robbed China. Was defeated by local Pansin. Vietnamese armed forces in all locations. On the other hand, the Vietnamese army and people continued to resist fiercely. China announced that the gate to Hanoi was open and the punishment mission has been completed. Vietnam again ordered a general mobilization of troops. Group 20I of the elite Hoang Jing army of General Nguyen Huon was mobilized. When they return home from Cambodia, they will be accepted. The 918 Air Force uses C-1 aircraft. C-30 and Linos Ben-12 teams move from the south to the north at top speed. Multi, however, as soon as the units crystallize. Her second string teacher has only just arrived. War reconnaissance the Chinese side has declared. Dad pulled out his pants to show Thien Tri Ho. Just when China withdraws Vietnamese troops. Declared no pursuit in response to the commander. Hua the Hu, after seeing that his army was right, suffered heavy losses. The Lang Son battle ordered the destruction of the land. In this direction, he also ordered it to be taken away. All supplies. What else is not taken? If so, then destroy the Chinese army. Hua the Hu's orders have been given to the country. Proceed to set up large min beaches. Prevent Vietnamese troops from pursuing. Attack after Chinese forces withdrew. Away from the border the fighting continues. Continues but has changed form. War on a local point-by-point basis from now on. March 18. Chinese troop. Continue to use artillery and mortar fire. Destroy the entire border line at the same time. Organize many encroachment attacks. Points on the border area belong to the province. Vietnamese rights. Accordingly, China chose Ha Toi and took V Chien as the first attack point. Occupied from a defined area. The secondary direction V Chien quickly turned. Become a hot spot and an important front. Point in the conflict, provoking policy. Border breach by the northern authorities. Kin during the period from 1982. 1983 China continuously sent commandos, carpet to ambush northern soldiers. Vietnam aims to exploit information and continue to use mortars to shoot at the Tatu country. The enemy used artillery. Soldiers destroyed the entire provincial border. Hatoyan prolonged wrong that fierce in nearly 1 month and opened many times. Invaded Vietnamese territory. The south concentrated mainly on the Vai front, through Ha province. Thuyen after many days of using artillery to shoot, fiercely destroying the border provinces of Vietnam. Trung. The country launched an aggressive attack again. This is the Vietnam Border War. The second war of aggression. China and Vietnam. China has time. Number of units mobilized in total. 1,000 troops from 8 of the 10 great nations. Military zone to attack host Vietnam. Weak in V Choi and Ha Giang today with 1. The front is about 20 km and the depth is about 10 km. The goal is to encroach on the north of Than Thoi Stream. To redraw the border deep into the land. Vietnam is calm until the end of April 1980. China has captured all the points. High on most of the border. The West liberated the Vietnamese army. He was injured. Large casualties must retreat to the low line of the nest. Defense to prevent the enemy from giving. They encroach deeply into the evil land. To retake lost positions and push back. The invading army of the 2nd Military Region. Policy of organizing a counterattack campaign. Codename 12. 1984. The front line of Military Region 2 organized the battle. Opened the table for the M84 campaign to recall. Some positions were occupied by the Chinese side. Kept on April 28, May 1984 in the area on both banks. West and east of the Low River are close to the Than border base. However, due to disadvantages in terrain and fire, driving the implementation of the MB84 campaign. July 12, 1983 divisions. 360 and 312 and recaptured. T-230 or not. Successful Vietnamese troops suffered casualties. It can be said that this is the bloodiest day. The most casualties of the war. Fight against encroachment and border protection. Why show Anatoyan from 1984 to year 1989? After this battle, Major General Hong Dan was appointed commander of the VI front. Cross after investigating actual combat. His school has changed its tactics. The war of the evil army changed from attack to attack, offensive to defensive tactics, and overwhelmed the Vietnamese army, then also advanced. Long-term fighting with fortified fortifications caused heavy damage to the Chinese army. By 1989, Chinese troops were forced withdraw, including the border war in 1979. There are deep causes of change in Beijing's foreign policy. From the late 1960s to 1970s they followed. Pursue a global strategy against the Soviet Union, based on the direction of cooperation with American troops on November 1, 1970. China's People's Daily calls the Soviet Union is the most dangerous receiver and considers America to be allies. They also believe that Lian So and Vietnam is coordinating to intimidate us. At the same time, Beijing's leadership is difficult, accepted because Vietnam allowed it to be used. Cam Dan Port and comprehensive cooperation. Groggy. Cambodia meanwhile for beauty furniture, defeated in the war of invasion. Vietnam was a serious wound for them. Holding in my heart besides America wants to find. Seek close relations with China, to create balance with the Soviet North. Kin realizing that, I hope it's okay. Normalizing relations with the United States will improve. Improving the country's position creates conditions favorable for further economic reform. By sending troops to attack Vietnam and China, China will convince America that the two countries have common interests and willingness to cooperate against them. Linked to the public renovation process. Oriented business in the South. Vietnam socialism has moved. Touches the interests of the Chinese people here. This is Vietnam's domestic affairs, but China sees it as a challenge. With the North's policy of protecting overseas Chinese. Shocked when the movement demanded to maintain nationality. China among the Chinese in Vietnam. These emerged and spread the news in the community. Vietnamese community cups flowers about the war. Inevitable war between the two countries. Causing Donggate of overseas Chinese to worry. Scared. By February 1979, 1,000 Chinese repatriated from Vietnam. By sea or land door to door. Hunungi border gate was later closed by China. Border with Vietnam makes tens of thousands. Chinese people who want to return to China are stuck there. The world's border is where Teo Bin used the excuse. Believes that Hanoi's death is better than its creation. Adds strength to decision Chin attack. South during the war. The inter-border war helped Vietnam. Nam according to the terms of the Friendship Treaty. The proposal was signed before they established a bridge. The airport still supports Vietnam. Move troops from south to north and support the line. Was introduced in March 1979. The Soviet Union organized large-scale exercises. Large means a reminder for China that offensive actions and allies of a superpower will bring no consequences. Few good things in the later stages. The war in 1979 was also carried out a lot. Navy ship landing in Cam Dan Bay and expand its military presence in the Asia-Pacific region. Build military bases as well as Sangha. Strengthen aid to degrees. China's invasion in 1979. Many lessons, but the most important among them is probably the construction task. A strong oil country with military potential. Solid and for self-protection. In history, Vietnam is a nation attacked by China the most times. We have been successful many times. Resistance wars against foreign invaders. So great achievements in Dien Hin. The Li dynasty's resistance war against the Song dynasty. Against the Yuan Mongols of the Tran dynasty or fought. The epidemic quickly destroyed 290,000 troops of the Tay Son family. But after each time, the Vietnamese won against the kings. In the afternoon, it gradually went down the path of weakness and decline. Became a delicious domain for the powerful. Foreign ginseng, for example. During the Tran dynasty, people often remember 3 times of resistance. War against Yuan Mongols in 1250, 1285 and 1288, forgetting that it's only about 100 years later the Vietnamese were defeated by the Champa army of the Russian regime, attacked up to 12 times and up to 3 times in the following year Quan. The invaders attacked all the way to Kien Du. Long as from 1427 Loi the first king. The ancestors of the later Li dynasty were established. He led the people to revolt and fight. Defeated the invaders of our home, but only to the year 1510. This era is going down the path of recession. Complacency and weakness filled the country. State of civil war. In 1787, Le Trieu became the last ruler. The last member of the Lê family came to beg the house. Than Tien and Dat Viet opened the show. The famous Tay Son War. Vietnam's last great wind design. The Nguyen family also fell into the same path as Z. The previous kings became obsolete. Conservative and weak Ben country became good bait for Western colonists. Also means the only way it is possible to prevent history from repeating itself is to always maintain stability. The country strengthens its defense potential and constantly modernize the country. Go down the path of complacency. Weak when seen by outside force. A strong and powerful Vietnam is natural. They will understand the cost of moving forward. Carry out a plot to invade our country. Brought nothing but heavy damage. During the Resistance War in 1979, although Vietnam still faces many difficulties, China itself also has many disadvantages. Benefit due to moderate, loss due to moderate. Through the great cultural networks of life. backward and lacking combat experience. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese army has just spread out. Through more than 30 years of war we have had, the elite soldiers have won too. Half a lifetime on the battlefield and still, always in a ready-to-fight stance. Any time other than after reunification. The country in 1975 Vietnam also obtained many modern American weapons such as arrays, helicopter, a 1 Heart Jack 5 Diamond Jack 37. This makes our Air Force when, which has a higher level of modernization of. China and Vietnam also accepted. Received the dedicated support of the Soviet Union and countries in the early socialist bloc. Cool, thanks to which you can pass the stage. The most difficult today is the Soviet Union and the bloc. Eastern European socialism is no more. Existed Vietnamese soldiers once. The resistance war has gradually come to an end. Eternal life while China from the floor has escaped the image of an army. Massive but backward force today. Their military forces are in possession of these. Top technology and firepower index. World gap between China and Southeast Asian countries increasingly. Accompanying expansion on which are the claims. The owner of Quyan is unreasonable and has many actions. Violations are continuously repeated, so defense and struggle to protect the border will become very difficult. However difficult, doesn't mean it can't be controlled. This case was successful with the young generation. Whether or not it can be automated can only be left to chance. Future. Words 8.